What's going on, guys? Alloutblitzle here, and today I'm back with the results from both Bochum and Knoxville. We're going to be taking a look at both top 8s, see what did well, what people were playing, and then we will take a look at my bold predictions and see how I did on those. So I'm not going to spend as much time as I usually do on each list, as we have 16 lists compared to our usual just 8, so might be in for a bit of a longer one, but sit back, relax, and let's go through some Pokemon TCG lists, shall we? So first we have our top 8 list, VIKAVOLT of Alex SCHEMANSKE. I'll first be doing Knoxville, then I'll be doing Bochum. So first we have this VIKAVOLT list by Alex SCHEMANSKE, and Alex, of course, has been around the game for a long time. No stranger to the top 8, but still could not find that elusive win. It was pretty cool seeing that. It was just cool seeing the sportsmanship on stream that Sackett knew that he couldn't win that game, so he did scoop to Alex. It was pretty cool. So this is very similar to the list that I showed off in my predictions video, except they are playing that Sky Sealstone and that Forest Sealstone. Other than that, it's pretty close to identical to what I uploaded. So yeah, this has pretty much been like your cookie cutter VIKAVOLT Aerodactyl. You just like change like 2 or 3 cards, like that Sky Sealstone comes in and makes that Mew matchup a lot better. Like being able to go Drapion through a Mew and then Raikou through a Genesect is just so good. So not a lot to add. VIKAVOLT is just it's a little on the inconsistent side and can draw odd hands sometimes, but it definitely has one of the best matchup spreads when you can set up. Now we're on to the 7th place Lugia list by Bradshaw, and I'm not going to spend too much time on any of these one Lugia lists because there are a lot of them. Spoiler alert, turns out Lugia is not going anywhere. If for any of you that thought differently, Lugia V-Star here to stay. So this is not a whole lot differently than your usual Lugia list. The main tech cards that first come to my mind are the Snorlax, the Dunsparce, and the Birdkeeper. Other than that, 3/3 Lugia is a bit thicker than you see sometimes. Sometimes you do see that 3/2. But yeah, other than that, pretty much your stock standard Lugia list. Only going with that 15 energy, which is a bit low. But playing Snorlax, Birdkeeper, playing those tech cards, you have to find space somewhere. So I guess that 4th capture or a wash energy or speed energy was cut to fit all this stuff. But I can't go wrong with Lugia. Definitely think Lugia had to be a little teched out going into this event because of the colossal target that was on his back from OCIC, and I think that it responded well, definitely to that lost box. Snorlax is a reasonable attacker. Birdkeeper is just great against control in those paralysis decks alike, and that Dunsparce is just all around great when people are playing stuff that is strong against you, that hits that weakness. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. I won't have a whole lot to add to most of these Lugia lists. They pretty much speak for themselves. The results back them up at this point. But yeah, great job to Lance, and yeah, great Lugia list. Onto our 6th place list, and this is ARCEUS DURALUDON by SHEN. I feel like SHEN playing ARCEUS DURALUDON has sort of almost become a meme in the community, but yeah, he's back. He's definitely, I mean, he had an amazing final season as a senior, and the pandemic sort of delayed his debut, but yeah, Grant has definitely proven to be one of the top upcoming players. I feel like this is probably your most optimal Lugia list. Several weeks back, I made that upload with Lost City in Lugia. If I said Lugia, I'm sorry. I mean ARCEUS DURALUDON. I think it's really one of the best lists out there. That Lost City makes your Lost matchup already even better, and it just helps deal with like a lot of those like, random one-up attackers that people like try to smash into decks to deal with you, and you should get rid of them, and that's just pretty good. Not a whole lot to add to ARCEUS DURALUDON. It's one of the more simplistic decks. There is that Choice Belt, which I feel like is a new addition. It does help you get through those Dragonite V's a bit more efficiently because you're only hitting 220. Means that 230 HP Dragonite does get a lot of value against you most of the time. So we did see over the weekend those ARCEUS DURALUDONs incorporate damage modifiers, which definitely does make a lot of sense. And yeah, the 4 boss, always very strong. Yeah, the 1 switch, 1 rope. Sometimes you do see 3 switching cards, but I do like that 1/1 split to have options for both scenarios, because sometimes rope will be better, sometimes switch will be better. So yeah, another impressive result from Grant. He's definitely been one of the best players this format. I don't know how much CP he's won in this format, but it has to be a lot. So yeah, great performance by SHEN. Speaking of impressive debut seasons, I know last season was technically Piper's debut season as a master. But she has just had a completely dominant run this year. Adding to her 2 regional wins already. Now she has a 5th place on added to that long list of accomplishments that already was very long from seniors and juniors. A fun fact, I'm 0-1 lifetime against Piper LEPINE. Way back at a side event in Nationals, I believe in 2015, but so yeah, this is very close to what Ian Robb played. I don't remember what tournament it was, but it was at Ian Robb PALKIA. I think it was from Orlando, and all I think she did was take out 1 wash energy for an escape rope. I think that was all that changed, which definitely is nice because the list did have a hard time moving that Drapion, Crab, or PALKIA that you sometimes did open, and it just gives you a little extra switching card and can serve as like a pseudo gust card in spots. I think Ice Cube is a very weak response into Lost Box going into the weekend. As you'll see, Lost Box were prepared for Ice Cube, and I feel like I was saying that for OCIC, and I was just a tournament early. And you'll see like with my bowl predictions later on, I was just a little off on some of my things, but I've always stood by that Palkia is a very underrated deck and format. I still think it has a large amount of potential, and the ceiling to the deck is extremely high. It is a little more difficult to play and can be susceptible to tech cards and Lugia, but I still think it is incredibly strong, and I would probably say it's the most underrated deck and format, and definitely if you are going into one of these upcoming tournaments, I would definitely recommend giving Palkia a try. So yeah, this is probably pretty close to optimal with Palkia. I don't think the 2 wash energies are all that necessary, and Escape Rope is definitely a very meaningful card added to the deck. So yeah, great job to Piper, adding to a very impressive season already. And you thought we were done with players who had impressive seasons. Next up, we have Nicholas Moffitt, once again with RAIQUAZA Lost Zone Box. Yeah, this is pretty much what he played at Orlando, except he took out that Ice Cube, thickened up the Raikou package, and added Temple of Sinnoh. That's pretty much it. But, he's been playing this deck for the last 30 years, and yeah, this deck is still the best, or one of the best builds of Lost Zone Box. Definitely the best pure single prize build, I would say. The Raikou for the single prize matchups is just so strong, and then the Rayquaza being able to one-shot those multi-prizers is just, you really have a good time to just about anything. Nicholas did have a bit of unfortunate luck running into that Weezing in top 4, and he certainly was tilted. He showed it on stream. He was pretty upset, but I guess that's the games that we play when we play Lost Box. I do think Temple of Sinnoh is a pretty nice add because I think people who just like sort of blindly went into this event saying Ice Cube beats Lost Box, and Lost Box can just answer it, and that's something that you always have to keep in mind, that if you're just running Ice Cube as your only check to Lost Box, you probably should reevaluate your life's direction and have some sort of backup plan, because it's not the most concrete way to go about things. But yeah, I think this is, like, all these lists in this video are incredibly good. Most of them are as pretty optimal as you can get. If I were to recommend a single Lost Zone Box deck to someone, it probably would be this. I don't know, I just think that, well, you're not as good into Lugia as maybe something like Azul was playing at OCIC. With Dunsparce being a much more common card this weekend, Rayquaza all of a sudden is one of the better answers, because it doesn't have to hit for weakness, and it's still going to be one-shotting a Lugia relatively easily, and you can play that single prize game very well with the Raikou and Sableye. So yeah, I think this deck actually is very well positioned, and unfortunately Nicholas just sort of ran into a buzzsaw in that Weezing, but yeah, very impressive result, adding onto a very impressive season by Nicholas. On to 3rd place, Regis by Rahul. I told you this tournament is just becoming a who's who of dominant names in this format, and Rahul, fresh off his top 4 at OCIC, runs it right back with Regis and gets a top 4 at Knoxville. So this is, I think, only one card off of his, either 1 or 2 cards off of his OCIC list. I don't remember if he's playing the Energy Lotto or not, but the Cave of Toughness is definitely a new inclusion. 1 Capture Energy makes me very queasy, but I suppose you have to fit some cards. But like, is Lotto really better than 2nd Capture? Like, I know it gives you more push to that Aurora energy, which you really need to get done early and quickly, but I just hate breaking with Regis. It just feels so bad. But I do think the Boss Rope is a nice sort of answer to Ice Cube. I sort of a soft check, because usually people are not as careful to leaving, like, when you are against something like Lost Box, you really have to pick up all your bench Pokemon because they can go rope, and then KO your Ice or Rope boss. But against Regis, they usually only playing Serenas, so that you don't have to be quite as careful, and you can sort of catch people off guard with that Escape Rope, and you have that Astral Radiance Lucky to recycle it if they're able to recycle their Ice Cube. I think that's a pretty heads-up include by RAHUL, but yeah, I'm not a big Regis fan myself, but if I were to recommend Regis, I probably would say something very similar to this. But yeah, it's been well documented, my take on Regis. If you want to know my true feelings of Reggie, you should just watch my OCIC Regis video. But yeah, once again, RAHUL is no stranger to success. Still waiting that regional win, but another crazy performance from RAHUL. Now on to perhaps the biggest shock of the weekend, and that's Eternatus getting second place at a regional in 2023. And I know you're probably shocked too. When I saw this deck in top 8, I was like, how? And I still am very surprised myself. I have been on record saying about how bad I think Eternatus is, and how I think it is one of the most, well, it's annoying to face on ladder. It's like one of those ladder decks that just like you get quick scoops. It helps you beat the versus ladder. That's about it. I still stand by those things. And a second place performance at a regional is not going to change my stance on Eternatus. I mean, it could get second place at a regional, but we've also seen Blissey and ARCEUS DURALUDON get second place at regionals. So, there you go. I don't know. Weezing, while it is very disruptive in the early game, like you saw in finals, that neutralizing gas was not enough to slow down Andrew. Spoiler alert, to end up taking down the event. I think he did make some misplay where you didn't check his prizes game 1, and chat was kind of frying him for it. But I mean, you have to have some sort of skill to get that far. And yeah, it's just kind of like the Eternatus list that's been running around online for like the last 3 months. It seems like, I don't know, I just don't like Eternatus. I don't think it's a very good deck. I think it's a very low skill deck that people love to play on ladder for easy concessions. But Brandon did just put a huge results up with it. My opinion is probably never going to change. I will probably forever be an Eternatus/Weezing hater. But nonetheless, it was a pretty impressive result. Cologne being out of Lugia definitely makes Weezing pretty strong. That Lost Box is pretty good. So it was a very good meta call. I will give it that. But I still think Weezing is a relatively underpowered card. And Eternatus is just not that great of an attacker. I know, like, 270, that's strong. But, like, it's a lot of setup. And it's relatively easy to get around. So, yeah, I've said a lot about Weezing already. I won't dump any more on this deck than I have to. Great job, Brandon. You are a real legend for getting second place with this deck. And now we will get into the champion. And that will be Andrew HEDRICK, completing one of the most impressive accomplishments in Pokemon TCG history. Andrew HEDRICK has won back-to-back North American Regional Championships, which I believe I saw in PokeStats had only been done. Back-to-back regional wins had only been done 7 times, and considering how much the game has grown, back-to-back 1,000-plus player regionals is insane. Like, that cannot be understated. Like, that has to be one of the most impressive accomplishments ever. Like, I know people will point to Klaczynski's Worlds wins, Tord's international wins, of course, stand out, but I'd say aside from maybe all Tord's international wins, and Andrew HEDRICK's back-to-back regional wins would probably be my number 2 most impressive Pokemon TCG accomplishment. And this is his first season in Masters, I believe. I don't think... Yeah, his first or second season. I don't remember him last year showing up at all. But anyway, onto the list. This is pretty much his same list from Orlando, except he added that Dunsparce in there, which I think was a very nice heads-up include because those Lost Boxes were out. And yeah, he's playing at 3 Boss 1 Serena, which is something that I touted in my list. Is actually is extremely similar to the list that I uploaded into the event. I think it just Andrew's playing 3/3 Lugia and Dunsparce, and I was playing Wash Energy to keep up toughness. So I got 58 cards, the same as the champion. So I am pretty happy with that. But yeah, once again, huge props to Andrew HEDRICK. Definitely one of the most impressive accomplishments ever in the Pokemon TCG history, and we're excited to see what he does next in this Master season. Like, how will things go at NAIC? Will he have a big run of the World Championships? Time will tell. Great job, Andrew. Now onto the Bochum list. First, we have an 8th place Lugia list by Christian. A lot of these names, these foreign names, as an American, I don't know how to pronounce, so I'm gonna do the best I can. This is a very interesting approach on Lugia. We see that Drapion, SHEN, Big Charm, Cologne. It's interesting. Yeah. I don't really know where to start with this. Like that done like I like Dunsparce. I've said that in this video, but Drapion feels like overkill. SHEN feels excessive. I know, and I like Cologne. I don't think Big Charm has a whole lot of value. I would just play Cape of Toughness and put it on my Stoutland. Like, I think that was probably the thought process. Like, I know it makes your Lugia tankier, but V-guarded Lugia already is getting an immense amount of value, and you can still have a Big Charm on it, but it still dies to Yveltal. So I don't think that card has too much value. The 2 Marnie 2 research makes me feel so scared. Like, I just feel like a lot of corners were cut to add cards that don't add a whole lot of value. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to. I mean, it got top 8. I can't dumpster on it too much, but I feel like this is not the way I'd go with Lugia. I think SHEN, Big Charm, Drapion, like why wouldn't these consistency cards? I don't know. We're gonna leave it at that. Great job, Christian. Now we're on to our 7th place list. This is Lugia by Yoan, I guess we'll call him. This is pretty much your stock standard Lugia, 3/2 Lugia, Bird Keeper tech. I really like. I like the canceling Cologne. Yeah, I just think this Lugia list is overall strong. No Serena is the only notable something that's lacking that we usually see, but I do think that this is a very nice way to play Lugia. I do like that 4 captures. It's just nice and consistent. Irida to find that Cologne is a nice card. Yeah, I think this is a pretty solid way if you're wanting to play Cologne Lugia. I wouldn't stray too far from this. I think this is just a pretty nice basic Lugia list. Alright, now into our 6th place. First of 2 Bochum Duraludons, and this is ARCEUS Duraludon by FRINT. This is very similar to what we saw with Grant earlier on, but choosing to play 2 training courts is a bit interesting. I'm still a big fan of the Lost City. I think it adds a lot more value to the deck than, like, are you really getting that much value out of training court that you need 2 of them? Like, I know increase your odds of drawing them, but I don't know. I don't think it's that meaningful of a card to add. And also Roxanne's a bit of an interesting one. The way your prize map usually works, your opponent will have to take 2 knockouts by the time Roxanne is live. So, in my opinion, like, that's usually gonna be pretty late in the game. Like, wouldn't a Karen's Conviction be better so you can one-shot that Pokemon that stands in your way? I mean, it probably is sort of like for that Lost Box matchup, but I don't know. I think you're already pretty good in the Lost Box. I just think that I'd rather that Roxanne be a Marnie or some other consistency card. I don't think it probably added too much value, but I'd be intrigued to see how much he actually used it during the tournament. But not my favorite take on ARCEUS Duraludon ever, but still a solid placement. Our final top 8 player is REGIS by SEN. I'm not going to try to pronounce too many of these last names. They're brutal for a poor American like me. This is very close to what we saw RAHUL running earlier on. Japan not playing that escape rope, playing that capture, not playing energy lotto, and maybe another Marnie, I can't remember exactly, but this brings your cookie cutter Regis. You just have that Cape of Toughness to deal with the mirror, and I feel like that's a pretty smart tech. I do sort of like that rogue for a little bit of a backup plan into Ice Cube, so you don't just fold into Ice Cube, but I do think that this, if you just want basic Regis, at least have that swing card in the mirror. Cape is probably the most efficient card to tackle that, but yeah, not a whole lot to add. I pretty much left everything already out with RAHUL, but yeah, great job Sen with a pretty standard Regi list. Now onto our 4th place ARCEUS Duraludon deck, the second of 2 Duraludons, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this name to risk making a fool of myself, so yeah, this is a different build of ARCEUS Duraludon than we've seen from the previous 2, and it is playing Tower of Darkness in 4 of them, and also playing a Karen's Conviction, which I sort of do like as a card in this deck because it gives you a little bit of that late game push into those matchups like Mew, and into Palkia, which isn't necessarily a very relevant matchup anymore, and also into the mirror. It can be kind of nice just as a hit that is harder to heal. But as I said before, I'm a huge fan of that Lost City. I do like Ordinary Rod in ARCEUS Duraludon, and I like the Karen, so I think that playing the Karen with the Tower of Darkness isn't necessarily a bad idea. But yeah, I have already said a lot of ARCEUS Duraludon. It's like a pretty basic deck. This is just like, we've seen like pretty much all the variation you can do with the deck. I think like every list is like 6 or 7 cards the same. But yeah, great placement from the fellow from Finland. And now we have our 3rd place Lugia list by EDWYN. This is very similar to what we saw with Andrew, except I think he took out the Irida. There is a choice belt that Andrew didn't have, and there's also a Serena that Andrew had that EDWYN didn't, but it's basically as basic as you can get with Lugia. Not, first, the only tech card is Dunsparce. Other than that, it's pretty much no crap, just the good stuff. Yeah, not much to add. It's just your basic Lugia, nothing less, nothing more. I do like Birdkeeper a lot right now. I have said that I do really like Dunsparce. Yeah, we were seeing Wash Energy a lot previously, and it's seemingly gone from Lugia, which is sort of predictable because the Kyogre builds of Lugia, or the Kyogre builds of Lost Zone Box are seemingly gone. So could be something to keep an eye on if you're thinking about playing Lugia in future events. That those Kyogres could be back. They're always best when people don't expect them. So stay tuned for our upcoming prediction video. Kyogre's coming up. Just kidding. Great performance by EDWYN with a very basic Lugia 60. And onto our 2nd place list. This is Gudra by, we'll call him Herman. Another Finnish player, so another doozy of a name for a poor American like me to pronounce. But this is where the madness really starts. You'll see this with the 2nd place and the 1st place list. Gudra, while it has proven itself to be like a fringe contender this format, aside from Stefan at Liverpool, it really hadn't had a really big performance. And yeah, there's a sort of an encore, if you will, at Bochum. And at 3-3 Gudra, I think, is a solid count. Only playing 1 Cramorant. I do like Choice Belt as an easy answer to one-shot Dragonite, sort of serving that spot that the Zigzagoon did before. Only 1 Roxanne. I believe Stefan played 2. I could be wrong, though. I haven't played Gudra in a hot minute. Other than that, it's very similar to what we saw back in Liverpool. I mean, not too much evolution since then. I do think Choice Belt's a pretty meaningful card because of that. The Dragonite can be very deadly. You can get a lot of value in that matchup. So we did see this weekend that Dragonite builds a Lost Zone Box. We didn't see one yet. Lost Zone Box did horrible. Only Nicholas was the only one that we saw this whole weekend across 2 tournaments. James Cox bubbled out of cut in Bochum. That was pretty much it, though. So very dreadful performance for Lost Zone Box. I guess you can kind of throw Gudra into that category. I would consider it a separate archetype, though. But yeah, this is the best Lost Zone Box or Lost Zone deck from the weekend, and that was Gudra, which I feel like was not on a lot of people's bingo cards. So yeah, great job for my man Herman with the Gudra at Bochum. And then onto our Bochum champion, we have a Polish fellow I will call Milo. And this is where things really got crazy. We see Lugia playing VIKAVOLT, and I don't think anyone expected this. These Polish players, first it was PALKIA, now it's Lugia. They just love throwing VIKAVOLT in everything, but it was very smart. That Lost Zone Box was like one of the biggest threats going into the weekend. It was kind of like, how do we beat this deck? It sort of came out of nowhere at OCIC, and this was a very interesting take on how to beat it. The item lock, of course, has always been strong against the Lost Zone Box, and it proved to be the way to play Lugia, at least in Germany. And we do see a couple of other interesting tech cards which you don't see in Lugia. We see that Dunsparce, which sort of proved its worth over the weekend. It sort of had fallen out of lists, and now it's sort of been reinstated. We see that Skyla over the Irida that we sometimes see. I do think Skyla is even better if you're playing Collapse Stadium. Collapse is one that we have seen just was very much in Lugia to start out the metagame, but it's definitely fallen out very significantly. But this is a big showing for Collapse Stadium. I do think like Collapse plus Item Lock is pretty strong into like Regis, but yeah, I don't think Collapse Stadium is an ultra necessary card, but it's certainly interesting. I would probably prioritize other cards. I do like having 2 speed energies, like it gives you a little extra consistency in spots, and also just gives you more ways to attack with your VIKAVOLT and Raikou, not having to commit Aurora to save those for our boy Yveltal. Zapdos is pretty nice because it does mean our Paralyzing Bolt hits 60, so we can hit that Cramorant for weakness and one-shot it. So yeah, this is a very fun way to play Lugia. We'll have a gameplay video on this tomorrow, so I will have more to say about it then. But it's a very fun new way to play Lugia. I might have played this in the Sunny Games tournament last night. I don't know yet. I'm recording this. It's still a couple hours until that, so I might have played it then. We'll see. But yeah, this is a crazy list. Definitely one I'm gonna have to pick up and give a try. And great run by my boy Milo. Now on to what everyone has been waiting for. Well, maybe not. It is my full predictions, and as you can see, a lot more red than I really ever wanted. But we'll talk about it. First, we have highest placing Lugia will be running in Cologne. I was just in the wrong tournament for this one because we saw Cologne really make a statement at Bochum, but it didn't show up really at all in Knoxville. This also box Kyogre was a big miss. I think it was a little too far ahead of the curve, because I do think seeing that Wash Energy like fully be out of Lugia now, like it's pretty much been dropped entirely, really makes me think that Kyogre is a lot better of a deck now. I mean, Item Lock is very scary, something to face down as a Lost Box player, but I still think that the Wash being dropped is just really interesting if you're playing Kyogre. And this is like where I evaluate my thinking is I've been like on control for like the last 4 or 5 weeks, and it's really let me down a lot. And I still think control is very solid, and I'm like trying to like figure out why it's not doing well. I don't think it's because it's overly tactical, because we only saw one Snorlax in all the Lugia list, not even a ton of Bird Keepers. So like I'm still like trying to figure out why people are not playing control, and like why isn't it doing better? Because like on paper it seems so good. So I just know if that it's not the pilots are playing it, or it's just I'm missing something entirely. But yeah, control is just, I've had this on my list like the last 3 or 4 tournaments, and it hasn't gone through for me. So I did hit on VIKAVOLT Aerodactyl. This was not one of my big reads. I knew that Vikadactyl had a very solid spread, and luckily Alex was able to help me out with that one. I missed big on no Regis in top 16. There was, I think, 2 or 3, and with, of course, Rahul with his deep run. I'm just a perennial Regis hater, and I guess that sort of clouded my vision with it. It still has a very strong spread, as I just don't think it's very good into Lugia with Dunsparce, and that, and it's of course horrible into that Weezing deck, but it has a very good spread, and I don't think that should be discounted from it. It just can be inconsistent at times. We got the Lugia winning the event, but less top 16 than OCIC. OCIC had 8 Lugia in top 16. This one only had 6, if I remember correctly. So I got that one. I think that was sort of one that I felt best about going into the event, because I still felt like Lugia had all the tools in his kit to win, and it showed out very well across both regions. But I knew the counters would come out. I thought Lugia could still overcome the counters, and that did happen. And finally, this will be the winner's first regional win, and this of course did not happen, as Andrew shocked the world with the back-to-back regional wins. There were several players in cuts who had either been younger players without as much Masters experience, or vets like SCHEMANSKE and RAHUL, who had gone a long time without one. So, but of course with Piper and Andrew going deep, it was extremely unlikely that was going to happen, but it was, I don't know, that's always a fun one to guess, because you have very little control over what happens, but there are still so many big name players that have been so consistent that still lack that regional win, and it's only going to get harder as these events get bigger and bigger. And whether you like it or not, the era of information is really here with Pokemon. It has been here for a long time, but I feel like in today's day and age, where like Limitless has lists the night of the regionals concluded, like because Arceus uploads them, and that's just really cool in my opinion. And I just think that it's just like people who like want to be like say that the top list should be kept like some arcane secret. I like having information available to the common player, and anyone being able to see what does well, and that's why I love resources like Limitless. And I try to be a source of information myself. But yeah, I want to hear what you guys think. If you made it this far into the video, you are an absolute trooper, and drop something in the comments to say you made it this far if you did. I'd love to actually see how many people made it this far, because I'm sure the viewer retention on this video will be pretty poor, but I don't really care. I'm just doing it because I love it. I like analyzing tournaments, metagaming, deck building. Those are all my favorite things about Pokemon. I get to do all of that with these sorts of videos. So whether people watch them or not, I'm going to keep making them because I frankly love this game, I love this community. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and this has been Alloutblitzle. I'll catch you in the next one.